Was good, YouTube. Sorry about that. That was big fingers in a bouncing vehicle. Like, share, subscribe, support the stream if it feels so inclined. I'm Artisan MC, and this is a little segment affectionately named Cartisan MC. So shout out to the BTM for that, because I do like acronyms. So I hope everybody had a good Christmas, had a good time spending with the family. You got got some grub, got some nice presents, have some laughs, watch some football, or play some games, or whatever the fuck whatever it is that you do on your time off. Um, Me, I had a good time sitting at home. I had some good, freshly homemade pasole. You don't know what that is? It's a Mexican soup with hominy and stuff in it. Basically, it's called menudo in another culture, I think Puerto Rican. But I had some of that from the professor, and I got my bottle of Winter Jack. So I had some spice apple cider whiskey, and I played video games and enjoyed myself. I watched some television, I played some games, and I just relaxed, which you're supposed to do. And I relaxed because I had a lot on my mind, but I knew today I was going to come back to work and dive back into the shit. So I was making sure I was properly rested before I came back and start swimming in the shit. And sure enough, I came in today and it was kind of a shit show. Kind of a shit show because of poor leadership and direction. So the people playing out what they're not. But I didn't necessarily come here to bitch about work. Whatever it is I want to. So shout out to my language, shout out to our listening, shout out to Toya, BTM. So my thinking is this. There's a couple of things that I saw today that proves to me how uncommon is, how uncommon sense actually is. Now, I got a call today, and this upstairs has actually flooded a little bit. It's a water leak, right? So, bathroom has actually flooded, and when I get there, the resident is trying to direct me to what um, they believe the leak was caused by. Now, I find this interesting in a way. What up, Ray? I find is after this call, I pretty much had a kinship for Officer Faulkner, what he must have went through being on the beat doing his damn job, because everybody wants to give you the hands and the puppets, hand waving and puppet show about everything that they want you to look at, but using your own common sense to look at stuff will determine they're full of shit. And the real story is what you don't want to show me, what you don't want me to look at. Now, at several points in this day, I had people trying to backseat me and believe that they could supervise me. People who do not have my skill level, do not understand what I understand, and don't do what I do. What up, Andre? But they thought they needed to, sit and watch me do what I do. Now, this water leak was pretty serious in the sense that the upstairs bathroom area carpet got pretty wet, wet enough that it soaked through to the ceiling in the garage. And now there's some drywall damage, right? Pretty significantly. But what the resident is telling me is not matching up with what is visible with the naked eye. Now, understand, I'm annoyed a bit when I get to this call because an hour after I heard about this call, nobody has still gone to it. And it's an emergency. We're on the clock and it's time sensitive. We need to get there quickly. The person who heard about it before me did not move. Did not move. Nobody moved. I went and did a whole other emergency. And by the time I was done with my emergency, I went over there to see what the hell was going on because nobody piped up and said that they took the call or anything like that. And then when I arrived, oh, so and so showing up. And I'm like, an hour later? Why the hell didn't he show up an hour ago? What the fuck is he doing? Right? And when this person shows up, this person automatically wants to be the first door and act like they're the lead. I'm assisting them. Why? What do you see? So we get in there, and while this other tech is actually talking with the resident, listen to what the resident is telling him and stuff like that, and going, oh, yeah, that looks bad. Oh, well, that could be such. You know what the fuck you talking about. I'm just there playing the back and watching what's going on and seeing what I see. Now, I'm listening to what the resident is telling me, but it's not matching up with what I can see with my own eyes. And it took me till I left that job to think about what I was bringing to bear in that situation to understand what was happening. Because it wasn't just, look, I see water on the ground. Oh, look, the carpet is spongy when I walk on it and there's water coming up. It wasn't just that. It was years of experience dealing with water leaks, plumbing, working in the rain, all kind of shit, psychology, all kind of stuff coming to bear in this one situation when I'm sitting here going through my analytical process of what's going on and is it matching up with what this person is telling me. Now, while this other tech keeps trying to tell me what the play is going to be, I'm ignoring that asshole too and doing my own assessment of what is going on. So the woman's telling me, oh, yeah, it was under the sink. It was leaking under the sink. And it got all the way out here to the hallway and under the wall and the other bedroom and all this other shit, right? And I'm looking at it, and under the counter, under the vanity, it's not wet. It's not wet at all. Not to the level it would be if it had been leaking all night and poured water all out into the hallway. It's not. It was no signs of being. Because for everybody who doesn't know, particle board, which is what they most of your cabinet, vanity, bathroom, and stuff like that out of raw, which is pretty much just glass and shit like that together. Don't play nice with water at all. Not at all. So, it had water that had been leaking on it for a few hours, it would be rolling at the bay's face, swollen and moist. This sink was not. So this person's story is not. This is where is coming in. Like the story matched up just on one part. I was like, bullshit. So I started looking around a little bit more. And I look in the other bedroom and look at the room. I'm back. Yes, more bitch shit. Anyway, long story short, and a short story long. This water did not come from where this resident is trying to tell me it came from. And going to look in the garage, it's seeing three separate water spots in the ceiling, one near the edge of the building and one more internal to the building, led me to investigate a different location. And what I found was the toilet was actually leaking. The toilet was actually the source of all this water in the hallway. Now, why was the toilet the source of the water and not the sink? Because somebody thought they knew what the hell they were doing and hooked up a bidet from the toilet, running a water line from the toilet out the bathroom into the vanity and connected it to the sink. Now, I remember seeing this because you got 1,200 units. I've been in most of them. And I have a pretty good fucking memory. Identical. Everything is damn near visual. Even language is visual. So I remember coming to this house and how they had this jerry-rigged ass plumbing hooked up from that sink faucet to the toilet. And being there now, none of that is present. But there's another wrinkle to it is that these residents are moving soon. So what I deduced from all the evidence that was available is that the make-believe plumber in the house unhooked these water lines and didn't hook something back up correctly and flooded the goddamn bathroom and the floor. Supposurious. And since the flooding was caused by something they did, that makes it their charge. That means they pay for it. That, isn't it lovely? But since they don't want to have to pay for that shit, they try to blame it on something else, believing that everybody else is as dumb as they fucking asses are to believe water came from some place where there's no water. Not in the house. Water has a source, and water follows gravity. There's no fucking way in hell you can have a puddle of water in a wall opposite of gravity unless that's the source. So I left there with the other tech that was there trying to, be the lead person, and got to talking to his ass outside about what you don't do in front of residents and what you learn from having experience. And one of the things I told him is you have to look for the signs. What up, A.L. Evans? Burr, burr. You have to look at everything. Even the psychology of people want to tell you about everything else. No, look over here, and it's this, and it's this, and it's this, and it's this. Well, if they knew what the fuck it was, why'd they even have a problem? Because they didn't know what it was. They knew what it was they did, but they didn't want to pay for the repairs. That's why they were freaking out. Problem is, they're so goddamn lazy. They tried to clean up all the evidence, but they didn't clean up all of it because they didn't move anything. So not only are they insulting my intelligence, because that's how I took it. When I get there, you trying to tell me this bullshit fucking story, like little kids. No, it was coming from there. Bullshit. Bullshit. This one spot couldn't produce that much water, especially now with the sounds that you're talking about. It's not the way it works. So when I'm outside having a little tete-a-tete with my coworker, I'm actually low-key dressing his ass down on why he should not be having this conversation in front of residents about what he thinks happened, because he didn't know what the fuck he was talking about. And I gave him all the evidence that was apparent, if you looked, that what they are saying is not what happened. And why what they were saying is not what happened. Because of this. Because the tendency with people who don't know much is to constantly relate things to the last thing that they knew. And make no mistake about it, I heard the same thing on YouTube today when I was listening to people reviewing other movies. They didn't know. Didn't know at all. Now, psychology will tell you people only remember the last thing that happened to them, because how the brain works is that the brain always looks for relations, right? It always wants to find something it can tie to. That's what helps people remember shit. That also makes some people's memories terrible, because they only relate to shit that they can feel. They don't relate to the incident as what it is. They relate to it in the sense of constantly recalling some other memory. Every time they pull on that memory, they alter it more and more. So being able to walk into that situation with fresh eyes and take in what is at that incident made it feel like a little bit of CSI for me for the day, for being a detective. Which, if I went to the police force, I would want to be. That would have been the goal. Because what I was picking up on was not what the person was telling me, what they were not telling me, and the nuances of what they were saying but didn't match up with how these things work. Don't get running water from an angle stop under a sink. You can get a spray of water, but it doesn't sound like running water. You know what does sound like running water? Water flowing out your motherfucking toilet. Because it's dropping from some height. It's not under pressure. But since they did that bullshit plumbing, they couldn't fix it. Now, me and the co-worker, my points to him outside were further proven when the resident male came out and asked us to come back in and look at something else. Another plumbing issue. Another water issue. Well, what's wrong with the water? Well, when they try to hook up this other little thing they got to it with this connector, it leaks. It sprays water out the top. And when you turn on the water valve all the way, the line cavitates, meaning that the line has bubbles of water in it and it vibrates so you can hear the pipes in the goddamn wall. Now he's using this, even though they keep talking in their other language, which is like Farsi. And I don't speak Farsi, so I couldn't translate it, but I got the gist of what they were saying. They're trying to figure out how to get us to look at this other water issue. That's only caused by the amateur plumber in the house trying to hook up some shit and don't know what the fuck he's doing. Now I sit there ignoring again everything that this person wants to tell me is wrong with this, and having to constantly tell them, no, that's not it. And doing what I know and what I hear, I fix problems by turning a freaking valve and putting Teflon tape on the threads from this bullshit water hookup you got. Why? Because this dude thinks he knows. And because he thinks he knows, he's just caused thousands of dollars of damage to this house because he thinks he knows. Not that he knows, because he thinks he does. This is where they tell you some people can know enough to make them dangerous. You know, just enough to be dangerous. It'd be no different than, say, AL got a new driver in a big rig. Excuse me. And he talking big shit and he know everything about driving a big rig. But he get down a steep grade and his tires start sliding or some shit and he don't know what to do. You know what's going to happen? You're going to flip that fucking truck over. You're not going to know how to use the downhill, runaway trailer shit or none of that. No, he's not. He's going to keep careening down the hill like crazy taxi. Until he kills some folks or kill himself. Yeah, he can drive the big rig, but he can't drive it on grade or on the slope. He don't know what to do then. Burnt up his fucking brakes, now he's fucked. That's what it means. That's what this dude did. Thousands of dollars worth of damage. And as soon as I can call them on it and tell both of them, the husband and the wife together, what I found and what the issue was, you know what the hell this loving couple did? The wife threw his ass under the bus. I don't use that. I never use that. It happens all the time. Because the enemy of people full of shit is people who know things. People who have knowledge, know human behavior, know they craft, just know they fucking feel. It's always a problem for people who are full of shit and don't know anything. Always an issue. You know why? Because you see through their shit like Superman with X-ray vision. And it puts them on the spot to have to be actual grown-ups and take accountability for the shit they fucked up. They don't want that charge. They want to move out and kick the dirt of this place off their shoes and be out. They don't want to have to pay for that shit, but they should because they did, number one, some illegal fucking plumbing anyway. And two, did it wrong. And three, did it wrong to the point that it caused damage to the residents. Yeah, that's how you learn from your fucking mistakes, dumbass. I can't whoop your ass like daddy would have to. You're going to pay for this shit like grown-ups do. That's three people out of the four I had to deal with who just thought they knew better than me. The other one was a good 300-pounder who want to stand behind me and watch me replace fence boards like they knew how the hell to do it. But they can't cut the grass in their backyard so we can open this fucking fence. And they big ass can't fit through the opening that they can open up. So you worried about some broken fence boards, but you ain't worried about cutting this fucking grass out here with your whopped ass. And want to stand behind me like I need a supervisor. I had to tell her to leave. For real. I don't need a supervisor. You can go, man. Yeah, I can handle this. I ain't cold. She was 300 fucking pounds. You know what cold is? Cold is 45 degrees with water on your hands. That's cold. Cold is not looking at somebody who is about 300 pounds and saying they 300 pounds wide and outside. Well, I haven't been back here to cut it in a while. Yeah, I know, big bitch. Yeah, I know. I can tell. But you worried about four fence boards and a dog getting through. But you ain't worried about cutting this goddamn grass. So you can get your big ass through the gate. But want to stand over my shoulder. I don't need your help. Now, this may sound like working man angst, because in some sense it is. And make no mistake about it, I don't have a problem with big folks. If you're big, you big. Shit, I'm kind of fat for my height and my weight right now. It is what the fuck it is. But I live in the really real world. And in the really real world, some folks is big and some folks is thin. And the big folks have a weight attached to it, just like the thin folks do. So if I can call a spade, I can call Jack Sprat thin and his wife fat. It's just what it is. Now, beyond this bitch shit, which was just work-related bitch shit, the other bitch shit I heard came in the form of YouTube commentators who know absolutely dick about anything. Now, Malika's in here, and I sent Malika the link to one of these groups of people videos, and it's one of my, my favorite vultures who come to pick up the jewels or the knowledge I throw out just because. Ran back, did they fucking show so they can sound smart. Now, of all the reviews that I saw, there were only 2 reviews that mentioned the points I mentioned about Rebel Moon on my Sunday show. 2. One from before I did my show, one from after I did my show. Everybody else in between there missed that reference right off the bat. Missed it completely. Which to me says they didn't even watch the show, really. They too busy on the hate Zack Snyder bandwagon to have even watched the shit. They just know it's the next thing they supposed to be hating them. And per standard, all I heard was political shit about it. Everything was political. Everything was behind the scenes stuff. Outside of the colorful metaphor usage of language just to say it sucked in a different way. But not why. Not how. AL, that's the main complaint people say, right? That it was nothing new, right? Okay. Follow me now, AL. Were these the same people who were praising Dave Filoni for that fucking Ahsoka show that had nothing new in it? Were these the same people? Because I can tell you this. There's ways to do things that are not new. And the only person I saw point this out was the brothers on Double Toasted, Corey and Martin, that understood that as much as we love Star Wars wasn't an original story either. It copied Dune. And Dune, as awesome as it is, some of it was not an original story either because it copied the foundation. It just moved shut around in a different way. Now, see, people who actually fucking read novels, comics, and stuff like that understand these themes and stories, right? And people who have actually watched and read some of this stuff can actually pick that stuff out very easily, right? And I always go back, just like I did on my show Sunday, I try to go back to the oldest one, the oldest instance that it is copied from. You know why? I try to go back and find the original, right? But like I pointed out to Malika about the Ocean's 11 and showing him the original Ocean's 11 with Sammy Davis Jr., Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, people's reference points tells you where they got in with this shit. Tells you where they got in on it. And most of the time, it's not at the beginning. Now, I have not done my review of Rebel Moon, but I really think I'm going to put some effort and make some time just to do a review of Rebel Moon, just to actually throw a middle finger to a lot of these motherfuckers with this half-ass review and shit. And more so what I see is the shepherd leading the flock off a cliff, the manufactured hatred of a franchise, of a vehicle, of a show, of a director. That's what I'm seeing it as. That's it. Because for me, I can hear a complaint that the characters weren't really fleshed out. Up until the point you remember what the fucking title says. Part 1. That's up and until. If it was just that and it was cut off at this, like this is Rebel Moon and that's the end of it, then I can make that criticism. I could. But for the groundwork they had to cover in the first part, knowing it's a part 2 coming, and also knowing like all the rest of these reviewers found out new, there's a longer cut of part 1 and part 2, then that criticism kind of seems moot to me. Because the first one is all set up. The second one means that you can go ahead and get into the nuances of these characters and why this is important to them. But the first one is more important to get their asses together and get the fucking show going. Now, I'm really interested in seeing people have this criticism of this shit when they watch 8 fucking episodes of Ahsoka and you don't know who the fuck these people are and why they matter to anybody. But I'm supposed to believe this is the best goddamn Star Wars going on. Fuck you, it ain't. And I hate Dave Filoni for that shit. I got an hour's worth of motherfuckers staring at water until they got to the next scene that was ripped off. Not even new story and put into it, just plain ripped off from George and thrown into their shit. All they did was change the characters to some of their own. And them motherfuckers was clapping like circus seals for that shit. So it was very interesting to me, to say the least, to see that people giving criticism, or excuse me, critiquing a show and knocking it for the same things they praised in another fucking show. Not done better, and plagiarizing the hits and saying I wrote something. Now, I've already told you, no movie is perfect. None of these shows, not even the shows I like, are without flaw. They're not. Because if you want to pick at something, you can. Just like a little kid on the play yard with boogers in his nose. You can stick your finger up there, you'll find something. But because you found something doesn't mean that, oh, it was just a problem because it was there. No, nothing touched by man or woman is perfect. Now, for me, I found it more interesting that the only 2 people to point out the Samurai 7 connection to this movie were the two black folks. And this is why. This is why I think only the black folks picked that shit out. The Seven Samurai story at base is about what? That story is about the farmers or the weak finding people to fight for them so they will not be put upon, oppressed, beaten, stolen from by these people in power who could roll into their town and give them shit because they can. The reason why I think the two black folks actually get that story in story because that's how black folks were done by the dominant society, whatever the fuck you want to call it. The palm skin folks. That's how Tulsa, Oklahoma got burnt the fuck down. That's how wood ended up being a nice ash. That's how people ended up with crosses on their yard and all kind of shit. Because black folks understand what it means to be terrorized by and to be somewhat defenseless against it. But what black folks also understand is a revolution coming around and those same people that were downtrodden and you were kicking, getting it up and learning how to defend themselves and giving you the what for, giving you the business and running your ass out of there from fucking with them. They understand that shit really well. And I think that's why the only two black folks made the connection to Samurai or Seven Samurai. And the only two black folks I'm mentioning is the brothers on Double Toasted and me. Because any other professional review I heard didn't make that connection. The only ones that did their show and regularly watch my shit and take from it. In order. Verbatim. Now, from that, I took that to mean that what is more rare, besides being more valuable, it's more isolating. That a lot of people get over on just having a slick presentation. A lot of them do. And a lot of people like the sound of their own fucking voice. Now, I thought it was funny. I thought it was funny. Confirmation, but I already knew that. I already knew it. Here's how I knew it. Here's the funny part of knowing that, right? In terms of talking about your oldest reference. You know what some of these people's oldest reference was to what was going on in that movie? A Bug's Life. A Bug's Life. You know why? They never saw Seven Samurai. It tells you how fucking young they are, or how young-minded they are, which is true. Bug's Life was a great movie. It was fun, all right? But it is still simply a Seven Samurai story, animated. So is it now terrible because it actually copied something that worked? It told their own story with that as the base? Or does it make it awesome and fun to watch? Yeah, Malika, what the absolute fuck? Now, I told you guys before, what I didn't hear any reviewer talk about when they talked about, oh, it's all this stuff thrown together or whatever, blah, 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 hate Zack Snyder shit, right? Snyder stands will come out, just support him. What you don't understand is apparently none of these people saw Sucker Punch. Apparently not. You know why? Why you can tell they haven't seen Sucker Punch? Because if you had saw Zack Snyder's movie Sucker Punch, you would already know that when Zack Snyder does something his own, he pulls in all the references he has. Because that's what Sucker Punch was. His own creation, his own fucking story that had at least 4 different genres of shit in it. Special effects, fighting, slow motion, robots, dragons, Nazis, robots, samurai, everything. But the kitchen fucking sink. That's what he does when he creates his own shit. He pulls off all his references, all the shit that he likes, and makes it together into one thing. Now, if you had ever seen Sucker Punch and known it was a Zack Snyder movie, you wouldn't have been surprised at all by Rebel Moon and any reference you saw in there to some other stuff. Because I heard people keep comparing this shit to Dune. It's like, oh, it's like Dune. It's like, how the fuck is this? Ain't shit like Dune. Where do you get Dune from in this? Ain't nobody in this shit talking about the Kwisatz Haderach or some supreme being. Nowhere. No worms, no sand, no water planets, none of that shit. No warring houses, none of that. Now, I've read almost all of the Dune series. I don't see no reference to Dune in this shit at all. So once again, like my good brother Malika had said in the chat, what the absolute fuck are you talking about? So I don't know, man. This shit, this is really what really makes me think about what reviewing these media properties and movies and TV shows and stuff really actually means to me. And what it is I see that these other folks do. Because in some senses, it sounds like the damn echo chamber. It's a hate mob and it's an echo chamber. The echo is for the largest voice in the room. The hate mob is for anybody they don't is not in their favor for something they might have done is what they gonna shit on next. And right now it's looking like we playing a game of fucking Mario Brothers. Like we keep looking for the next block to jump off of to get to the next thing you're supposed to hate on and the next thing you're supposed to hate on. It's manufactured fucking hatred. Picking winners and losers based on your personal fucking preferences. And having a large enough platform to get the herd to move in that direction. I saw Rebel Moon. It wasn't that bad. Visually, I thought it was great. You know why? Zack Snyder can do special effects. Some scenes look like they were on a set, but every fucking Star Wars show you've seen since The Mandalorian has been on a set. Except for Andor. They actually took the fucking cameras outside and filmed on locations. I lost count because I broke this up, the viewing of Rebel Moon, in two. But by my count, they visited about 7 worlds in one show. About 7. You saw interplanetary travel like you ain't seen it in a Star Wars movie recently. Maybe they go to a planet. Maybe they go back to the same planet they was just on in the last movie, in the last show. Maybe they go somewhere new, but we got to go back to those hallmark spots that everybody knows. The fuck out of here. This show, they was constantly going to another planet. Constantly. And I appreciated that because if it's going to be sci-fi, let me see something science fiction. Let me see some other planets. The costumes and creature designs look on point. I'm like, damn, he is really being imaginative. Because none of these creatures look like some shit I saw outside of the spider chick that just made spiders look extra fucking creepy. If anything, I would say she looked like Loth from the Drizzt books. You know, the Spider Queen. That's who I would think she fucking looked at, but you didn't have to make a big ass spider any more creepy than me than putting a chick's face on it with eyes on the side of her head. Oh, hell no. I'm good. Not to mention she go around stealing children. Where are my flaming arrows at? What up, Ilongo? Rainfire was good. So, I didn't think the show was that damn bad. But from what I heard, you would think it's the worst thing that come out since the last thing that came out. That also was not that damn bad. So, I don't know. It was Tuesday, and I guess everybody was on their bitch book. Shit. And that's what I saw. That's what I can take from today. A bunch of bitch shit. Talking about stuff they don't know. Not owning up to things that they have done wrong. And thinking they need to be in charge of everybody who knows more than them. Bitch shit. So, on that cheery thought, I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here so I can watch me some Angry Man. Like, share, subscribe, support the stream if you feel so inclined. I've been CArtusan MC, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.